Well, it's been about a year since I uploaded that Velocicoaster video. Let's see how well that's doing. Here we go. Analytics. Done relatively well. In my most viewed videos. Comments. Oh boy! I think it's about time I rewrote this thing. So, I'm back. Don't mind the fact that it's closed right now. Shush. Don't need to see that. But, yeah, came back, wrote it again. Now it's time to hear my updated thoughts on it. Howdy, hello everyone, I'm Overrated Critic and you're the viewer, and welcome back to another episode, and oh boy, this one's been a long time coming. It's time to finally revisit Velocicoaster after a few days more than a year of me saying that it's been overrated. So, yeah. Let's get started with that. Now, if you are one of the 3,000 and counting people who have seen my Velocicoaster video, you'd know that I was quite harsh on this ride. I called it such disgraceful words like forceless, lacks airtime, the Mosasaurus roll sucks, and other things like that. And you all had a particular response to it, and recently I have returned to the humid, hot, weird, alligator breaking into someone's house and smashing other wine glasses state known as Florida, which is where the ride resides, and I can now say that I have a refreshed opinion on it. So, let's get started with an overview of the ride itself. Velocicoaster opened on June 10th, 2021, and was manufactured by this country I don't want to pronounce, based Intamin Amusement Rides, who you may know for making Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point, or that Superman ride at any Six Flags park of your choice, except Six Flags Fiesta Texas. Or Hagrid's Magical Creatures, long name that no one wants to pronounce, am I right? Yeah, at Universal Islands of Adventure. Now, you may notice all these rides are either problematic, have had an accident of some sort, or a combination of both. But that's besides the point. This ride was at first discovered because some thick, black Intamin track was discovered at Islands of Adventure, and coaster nerds, being coaster nerds, went absolutely bonkers. Eventually, construction started in the Jurassic Park area, specifically in front of the Discovery Center. As the ride was built, everyone on the face of this coaster earth had their eyes on this, waiting, anticipating the announcement of what the hell this big black Intamin would be. And then, suddenly, Universal opened the curtain on Velocicoaster. So, as the ride was built under wraps because the world did a bit of an oopsie and powered off for about 2 years, parts of the ride were unveiled fully. The ride would have a massive top hat, a zero-G stall, and a few other cool elements. It was also discovered that this ride would be taking place in a raptor paddock. Okay, Universal. Everyone watched in awe as Velocicoaster was unveiled. This was awesome! Universal Studios Orlando was getting an Intamin Blitz that looked world-class and was themed. Notice how I said themed. Looking at you, Pantheon. So, eventually, Velocicoaster finally opened on June 10th, 2021. And everyone wrote it and said it was amazing. This was a themed, world-class, Intamin Blitz at Universal Islands of Adventure. What more could you want? This park was already great with Hulk, Hagrid's, that's it. It was wonderful to be in, and this just added another great addition to this great park. And then silly old me came along to write it 1 year later and said, it's not that good. So I came back 1 year later, almost to the dot of the video being uploaded, not actually 1 year later of me writing it, because it was about a month late, but I came back about 1 year later and wrote it again. And here's what I thought. It's now time for the part of the video where I walk you through the ride and queue and other stuff like that. Velocicoaster is located in the Jurassic World area of the park. Shouldn't be too hard to find because, you know, it's the big black roller coaster in the middle of the park. So eventually you will go into either the Lost Kingdom or you'll just go through the Marvel area to get to the Jurassic World area. You will, if you go through the Lost Continent area, you will just cross into where it says Jurassic World and you will see Velocicoaster spiraling around you. But if you take the other way, which I wouldn't recommend because it's a bit slower, you would just go through the entire Jurassic World area and then get to Velocicoaster. But not via the cool entrance, so just go through the Lost Continent. Once you get to the entrance, you'll see the good old Velocicoaster sign with the massive top hat going right next to you. And there isn't much left to do here except for walk in. If you take the standby line, you will be going through a bunch of switchbacks and other stuff, and you also will get a good preview of the Mosasaurus roll as it goes right next to you, as well as you will go right next to and under the big-ass top hat. But if you go through the express lane line, you will just kind of cut by all of that, and you'll get an immediate preview to a big centerpiece in the queue. The 4 Velociraptors in front of a nice little model of the coaster's top hat. As well as you'll get introduced to how the lockers work, which I will explain in detail a bit later. Eventually, you'll walk through the rest of the queue, and you'll get to this part where you see the second launch, and they, via like some weird microscopic LEDs thing, I don't know, they'll make it seem like Velociraptors are chasing the train that just went by, which I think is the coolest thing ever. That is such a great idea, whoever came up with the idea of microscopic LEDs or something, which allows this effect to be made, because it actually has the real train with real people in it going by with just CGI animated Velociraptors, and I think that's just cool. Once you see that, you will go into another chamber where you'll see a few Velociraptors and then a few cages that are mysteriously empty. I sure do wonder what happened to those Velociraptors. But all that aside, these Velociraptors are undeniably some of the best animatronics I have seen. They are so lifelike, and when I was able to feel this, I wasn't paying attention, but apparently the Velociraptors even blow air on you because of their breathing, obviously. And their skin actually, like, feels like or looks like it's actually Velociraptor skin, and like, oh my god, it is so nice and so detailed, and you can tell Universal spent a lot of time on this. However, after this, you'll get to the lockers. Now, I have a few problems and a few good things about these lockers. First of all, the good things about these lockers, it really only benefits Universal and the riders on the train, which is actually a very good reason, but it benefits Universal because they don't have to put nets up under the track to make sure any loose articles don't go flying out and hit anyone on the pathways, meaning the realism is a bit more real for rides. And it's also safer for the guests, because that way you know for a fact that you have no loose articles on them because they're metal detectors. Now, these lockers have a lot of flaws to them. First of all, you need your park ticket to open them. This is how they don't have you, like, enter a code or pay money or something. Basically, how these lockers work is there are, I think, 7 locker areas, and you scan your park ticket on one of those locker areas. Each of those locker areas has a color coordinated to them, and you must remember that color, that dinosaur, or whatever else about that locker, maybe even a number, once you get off the ride. Because you will need to remember that, because you'll need to scan your park ticket again when you get off, in that same area. So that way you can get your stuff back. However, of course, there are flaws with this, being, first of all, you need your park ticket. I don't really like this, because your park ticket, maybe you won't have it on you. I went with my mom, and she was keeping my park ticket with her, because, that's kind of important. So, it was good to not risk losing it on a ride. But I was like, oh shoot, I need my park ticket. But thankfully, for some reason, just this time, they were giving out these weird, locker pass thingies, and it allowed me to get into the locker. Also, I did also learn that express lane passes do work on these lockers. So if you have an express lane pass but not your park ticket, those can also work. Basically, if it has that basic universal pass shape and it has a small little barcode at the bottom, you can use it on the lockers. I'm pretty sure. Now, my real gripe with these lockers is the metal detection. Now, it shouldn't be the worst thing that there's metal detectors at the end of the locker, because Cedar Point managed to do it perfectly with Steel Vengeance. They had free lockers with a symbol, you input your birthday, blah 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 blah, and they did it perfectly with Steel Vengeance, with the whole metal detection thingy. However, with Velocicoaster, I don't know why they do this, but whenever someone gets metal detected on them, they stop the metal detector line. So you and everyone else waiting to go in those metal detectors has to stand there and wait as they check this person down, tell them why they can't bring that thing that they have on them on ride, or it's just their watch that they forgot to cover with their hand. The amount of times I heard the people in the locker area tell everyone in line, you have to put your hands over your watch, is immaculate. And the fact that so many people didn't do it, please, when you go to theme parks, listen to what the operators are telling you. Typically, it will either speed up your experience, or it's for your safety reasons. Oh my god. But after that, you'll get to a part neither me nor a lot of other people have footage of. This is because, well, you can't really bring anything into this part that you can take footage of anything. It's basically where they'll give you the whole story of the ride. Basically, Jurassic World, being the big-brained minds themselves, decided, hey, let's put a roller coaster in the Raptor paddock. That'll be a great idea. And this other guy, I don't know Jurassic World, okay? He's basically telling this other person, don't do this. It's a horrible idea, and you really shouldn't be doing it. But this other person's like, nah, it'll be fine. It's fine. It's the Velociraptor. We have these cool light thingies that keep them away. You won't die. Don't worry. You'll be fine. And eventually, you get to the end of the line, where you get sorted into rows. Now, I'd like to ask everyone this question. Why, during my visit, were they closing off the last row? I don't know if this was specific to my visit, or if it was just this month or something, but they were for some reason closing off row 11, I think it is, of the train, which I honestly do not understand at all. And maybe it's just for reasons of train station being goofy. I don't know, but yeah, the back row was closed off. However, on my first ride, I did get row 10. Which was the second to last back row, so, hey, it's close enough. And I got on the ride. Good tip here, I don't know what y'all were talking about with the fact that the ride-ups don't staple you, because they do. They 100% staple you, staple you. I'm talking shove the restraint so far down that everything hurts staple. So, yeah, if for some reason my past 2 visits I've just gotten so unlucky that I've gotten every single crew that staples, I don't know, but it just seems like the crews here are taught to staple people. But thankfully, if you sit forward in your seat, they won't question you and you can just slide back and you'll get some room in your seat, which is good. There was only one ride-op that I experienced who didn't staple me and just kind of did a little tap on my restraint. I salute that ride-op. He's doing his good job. So, now that you're in your restraint and not stapled if you did it correctly, you're now off onto Velocicoaster. Your ride starts out as you take an S-bend out of the station. This isn't in the POV I'm using, so shush. Then you enter the Raptor containment area thingy as you hear a person say some stuff. Again, I don't know Jurassic World, neither do I have a part of the POV that does this. So again, use your imagination. And then the ride launches out of the tunnel. You go up into an Illumin-like element, and then you drop down into a forceful valley, then up into a dive loop-like element giving you some airtime. Then you go into a forceful valley, you better hold onto your restraint, and up into another airtime pop. Go down into another valley and through some weird curvy thingies as you see one of the raptors, then into another overbank curve, and then into a nice little small overbank curve as you see more raptors. Then into an outer bank curve as you curve down into the powerful second launch. Then you're thrown up into the massive top hat as you then drop down into a very forceful valley. Then into a zero-G stall as you hang there over the pathway. Then you go into a Rose Bowl element reminiscent of some of Beasts, and you get some nice airtime pops with that outer banked curve thingy, and into a pretty forceful overbanked curve. Then into a strong airtime pop, and into the Mosasaurus roll that I still don't understand. And into an airtime pop, and a final airtime pop into the brake run. So, to Velocicoaster, I have to say, I'm sorry, okay? I didn't expect to be making this video so soon, and I have another ride over at SeaWorld Orlando to apologize to that wasn't even open yet when I said it would be terrible, but there's a reason why I'm called Ray the Coaster Critic. It's because I'm a critic of coasters. Yeah. Velocicoaster, it's just better than I remember it last time. The first half, well, yes, it obviously isn't as good as the second half, it still has a lot more punch than I remember. The second half also has a lot more airtime, and in general, the airtime was just so much stronger. This shows how much stapling can do to you in terms of a ride. So, note to this, all coaster enthusiasts, and note to this, me, try your hardest not to get stapled if you don't already, because it can completely ruin your ride experience like it did to me with this. So, yeah. This is just a good ride now. And, well, I'll tell you where it ranks later on in the video. And in general, Velocicoaster is just so much better than I remember it. It's just a good ride in general. And it's even reached so good from the point that it went from my number 30 out of 88, or now 89 actually, to my number 2 of 89. That's how far this ride rose. It's because I got the worst conditions on my first ride. I got stapled the exact middle, and I was hot, humid, and barely could remember anything for that ride experience in general. So, yeah. But these next rides, I ensured don't get stapled because trust me, for some reason, every single visit, I don't know what y'all are talking about, but the ride ops staple you to high heaven, and just, I had to make sure every single time to slide forward in your seat, or else the ride ops are gonna staple you like a piece of paper and staple. And to the Mosasaurus roll, I sort of get it now. I mean, like, somehow Intamin managed to make upside down airtime on a 0G roll that shouldn't even have airtime based on its shaping. So I don't know how Intamin did that with their magic Intamin fingers, but they managed to do it somehow. And while I don't exactly get what people are talking about, I have my own sort of why it's good about it, which was you kind of get ejector airtime at the bottom of it, and it's like right over the water, and whoa, it's cool. But it's still not as good as the Death Roll and Iron Gwazi. I'm just going to say that right now. I still prefer the Death Roll so much more. It's just a 0G roll over the water, guys. It's just a 0G roll over the water. That's it. Why are you saying this is one of the best elements on any coaster? It's just a freaking 0G roll. So anyway, I think that's going to be about it for this video. As you can see, my thoughts on Velocicoaster have massively changed. And, yeah, it's just, It's just so much better than I remember. But I have one last thought from me at the park to say, which sort of sums up all my thoughts. So, play that clip. So, yeah, final thoughts on Velocicoaster. It's a lot better than I originally said it was. Is it my number one? No! Iron Glossy still rivals it, but it moved up a staggering 28 spots. It was in my 30th spot, now it's in my number 2. It just barely passes Steel Vengeance, but is not better than Iron Glossy. And yeah, it's still an intimate, so it's still down, but yeah. Here's my final thoughts. I would love it if it was more reliable today, but it seems like today may have just been a fluke because it was breaking down a lot today, more than my last trip, but hey, what can you do? It's intimate. So yeah, that'll be it for this video, and goodbye.